back. So today we're gonna be doing one of my favorite things ever, and that is cooking. These are the ingredients that you'll need for this recipe, and I will type them up and put them in the description box below for you guys. So in the meantime, while the water is boiling, we're gonna just start cutting up the peppers, the garlic, the onions, all that stuff that has to prepare to just go in. The way I'm cutting this pepper is to take out the core with the seeds and separate it from what we're actually gonna use. This is a method I learned in culinary class, and I had no idea that I was cutting a pepper wrong for so long. Here I begin to cut the pepper into strips, and the correct term for that is julienne. Because the knife is so dull, it didn't cut straight through, but I'll show you how I deal with that afterwards. I'm going to repeat the same process on the other pepper. So like I said, you see the knife didn't fully cut the peppers through, but I just pulled it apart because they were mostly cut through. The water behind me is boiling, so I'm just going to take the pasta and put it in the pot, and I'm going to cover it back to bring the water back up to a boil. Alright, back to here. I'm going to cut this onion. You can cut the onions in any way that you want. I like to cut them this way because I personally like onions, but if you don't want such a big piece of onion, you can always dice the onions. I'm gonna use a little chopper to chop up the garlic just because it's easier. While I was cutting the garlic, the onion was just making me cry so much. I ran cold water over the pasta to stop the cooking process because when it's still hot, it cooks further, and where it's at right now, it's the perfect texture, not too hard, not too soft. Our beautiful pasta. Okay, so first I'm gonna put the butter. I took a spoon. Just gonna put a spoon of it in the pot. If you're using a stick of butter, I would say to use a tablespoon. It's marked on the package what a tablespoon looks like, so y'all got that down. So here is where I'm adding the olive oil, and that's because even though we want the flavor of the butter burns so fast, so the oil is gonna stop it from burning so fast. Here I'm just putting the onions and the garlic in to saute. I'm gonna take the spoon and mix the onions and the garlic around while it's sauteing because I don't want them to stick to the bottom of the pan and burn. Right now, the onions are just about ready to add the peppers in, so that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna show you guys how that's gonna look. Now you do want the onions and the garlic to burn just a little bit, but not too much because it adds an extra flavor. Like when you're making a soup, you burn the garlic and everything just a little bit. Like the caramelization gives the food a nice taste. So now I'm just gonna add a little bit of the jerk sauce. I'm gonna do it with the measuring spoon so I can just tell y'all how much I actually need. So it's gonna be together 1 tablespoon. Just gonna mix that up. Y'all can smell this right now. It smells beautiful. Now, this is where we add the sauce. Because I got the sauce. Get it? Alright. Oh. I'm like the weakest person ever. Got it. So you see, like, if I had made the sauce from scratch, it would have took twice as long. It's smelling so good. Now, don't get me wrong, this ready-made sauce is pretty good. But sometimes I just like to make my own things from scratch just because I can. And to get practice to perfect it. Like, it took me a while to perfect it. The Old Bay and the jerk is what really gives the food the signature Rasta pasta taste. So those are the two major things to keep. Now I'm just gonna put a little bit of this for that extra seasoning. And sometimes I put a little bit of sugar because my sister likes it less on the spicy side but more on the sweet side. I prefer it more on the spicy side, and so does my mother, but now I don't typically measure the brown sugar. I sometimes just like put my hand in there and like sprinkle some in. I'm one of those taste test cookers, like when I taste it and I know it tastes right. For some reason, every time I cook by recipe, I mess it up. But every time I cook like off my head with the spirit speaking to me, telling me what goes next, my food comes out so beautiful. So I don't cook by recipe at all. Like I said, this recipe was like a trial and everything with me and my mother. And now every time my friends come over, they want me to cook Rasta pasta. And I'm gonna use So, let's try that again. I'm gonna use black pepper now. And I'm just gonna put a little bit in there. I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like in a second. So this is the color the sauce should be right about now, and it should have like a little red tint to it, or like orangish, from the Old Bay seasoning. Alrighty, so the sauce is about there to put in the pasta now. I'm just gonna break it apart. I'm gonna put it on low because the sauce is where I want it to be. I don't really have to taste it that much anymore because I kind of memorized the measurements and everything for it. Before the video, I peeled and deveined the shrimp, and I seasoned it with green seasoning, which is scallions blended up with a bunch of other green herbs, and Sazon. After I mix the shrimp in, I'm just gonna cover the pot for 10 minutes and let the shrimp cook, and then it's done. So right about now, I just finished putting the shrimp in to the pot. The sauce and the shrimp and everything is cooking together. So we're pretty much done. But unfortunately, my camera stand broke. So I'm gonna have to order a new one of those. This was pretty successful. I'm gonna clean up the mess of the kitchen behind me and in the sink. But yeah, come back next time.